Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack exactly how to build a practical, totally bulletproof financial survival kit for when digital systems fail. We plan for so many things in our financial lives, right? We automate our investments, track our budgets, set up autopay, but what actually happens when the system itself simply stops working? Well, today, we're going to fix that vulnerability. Let's dive right in.
Let me ask you a quick question right out of the gate. If your bank went completely offline tomorrow morning, not forever, just for a couple of days, how would you pay for gas? Really think about it. How would you buy groceries? How would you even prove who you are if you walked into a local branch and literally every single computer screen was dark? If we're being completely honest with ourselves, if our cards, Venmo, and banking apps were suddenly dead, most of us would be totally stuck.
And look, this isn't some sci-fi doomsday scenario. It has already happened. In 2023, a massive outage hit one of the biggest banks in the US. Millions of people woke up, opened their trusted banking apps, and saw absolute zeros. No balance, no transactions, zero access. People couldn't pay rent, they couldn't fill up to get to work, and their auto-drafted bills just bounced. And honestly, the scariest part? The bank was completely fine. The money was perfectly safe. The system just simply went down. Imagine that happening during a hurricane evacuation or a regional power outage. No thanks.
So, to ensure you're never caught in that vulnerable position, here's our roadmap for today. First, the 72-hour blackout. Second, the optimism bias trap. Third, building your survival kit. Fourth, the psychology of control. And finally, your weekend action plan.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the 72-hour blackout, the invisible threat to your digital wallet.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this number, 72 hours. Why 72? Well, it's actually the magic metric recommended by FEMA, emergency planners, and top financial advisors. When you look at most modern disruptions, whether it's a major bank outage, a severe cyber attack, or a natural disaster, they are typically resolved within 3 days. If you can financially survive for 72 hours without any digital access whatsoever, you can survive almost anything short-term. It's the ultimate benchmark for resilience. Which brings us to Section 2, the optimism bias trap, or why we never think it's gonna happen to us.
Optimism bias is basically the psychological belief that bad things are more likely to happen to someone else than to us. Listen, it's not stupidity. It's actually a biological survival mechanism. Your brain is literally wired to protect you from constant anxiety by quietly whispering, "Hey, don't worry, that won't happen to us." But that psychological protection has a steep cost, and that cost comes due when the ATM goes dark or the checkout machine says card declined, and you're standing in a gas station during a power outage with exactly $11 in your pocket. Understanding this bias totally removes the shame of why you might not be prepared yet, but it also means we have to actively choose to overcome it.
Okay, let's get into the fix. Section 3, building your survival kit using the rule of 3. We are breaking this seemingly overwhelming task down into 3 super manageable steps. 1, cash. 2, documents. And 3, offline access. Let's tackle them one by one. Step 1 is the cash question. Now, I know we live in a world where physical cash feels like a total relic from the past, but financial preparedness experts are clear here. Cash is the only truly offline payment system that exists. Venmo is useless without cell service, and your debit card is just a piece of plastic without the internet, basically an overpriced ice scraper. So how much do you actually need? The baseline recommendation is between $500 and $1,000. But here is the absolutely critical part. It must be in small bills, 20s, 10s, 5s, and 1s. Do not stash a bunch of $100 bills. Why? Because during a crisis, literally nobody can make change. If a store's card readers are down, they can't break your $100 bill for a $10 purchase. Small bills give you agility. Keep this in a cheap $30 fireproof lockbox at home and think of it not as uninvested money, but as an essential insurance premium for your daily life. Moving to step 2, which covers the documents nobody ever thinks about. Having cash is great, sure, but cash without documentation leaves you completely stranded if you actually have to evacuate. Imagine leaving your wallet behind, your phone dies, and you're in a hotel 3 days later trying to access emergency funds. How do you prove who you are? You need a physical, waterproof folder containing these items. A copy of your ID or passport, your social security number, essential bank routing numbers, insurance policies, written emergency contacts, because honestly, who memorizes phone numbers anymore? And a list of key bills with their payment phone numbers. If you had to run out of your house in 5 minutes, grabbing your lockbox cash and this specific document pouch means you still have total control over your financial life. Step 3 is offline access. This is a crucial technical step, especially for anyone who banks primarily through an app. Most of us don't actually know our bank account numbers. We just log in with Face ID and we're good to go. But if that app goes dark, you are instantly disconnected from your own money. So write down your full account and routing numbers. Next, jot down the direct customer service phone number for your bank, because even if a website crashes, phone lines often stay up and running. Finally, seriously consider opening a secondary backup account at a completely different credit union or bank, and just keep a small balance in it. If your primary bank system totally fails, you still have a working secondary financial pathway. It's the exact same logic as keeping a spare tire in your trunk. Now let's look at the mindset side of things. In Section 4, the psychology of control and surviving those first 72 hours. Notice the really stark contrast in behavior we're looking at here. Financial crises rarely destroy people in the first 24 hours. They destroy people through the panic-driven decisions made during the first 72 hours. Look at the unprepared side. People withdraw every dime out of fear, they lose their FDIC protections, and they might even sign terrible, predatory short-term loans just to get immediate cash. But look at the prepared side. Someone with a 72-hour kit isn't scrambling. They are calm, they're making calculated decisions, and their long-term assets stay completely protected. This all ties into a fascinating behavioral economics concept called perceived control. This is the belief that you actually have the power to influence your environment. Studies show that people who feel in control during a crisis experience significantly less stress and make drastically better decisions. The mere act of taking a few hours to build this financial survival kit creates a massive psychological shift. You totally reframe your situation. You're no longer someone at the absolute mercy of digital systems. You are someone with a solid plan. You're not doomsday prepping. You're just intentionally protecting your decision-making abilities. A real game changer. All right, let's wrap this up with Section 5, your weekend action plan, the final checklist. Here is your ultimate final checklist. You'll definitely want to screenshot this right now. We've got the small bill cash in a lockbox, your vital documents in a waterproof pouch, and your offline bank access numbers written down. But definitely check out those bonus items at the bottom that most people completely overlook. A physical map of your area, because GPS apps require data, a battery-powered or hand-crank phone charger to ensure you can at least try to access digital backups, and a simple offline USB drive with scanned copies of your vital documents. Putting this whole shebang together takes maybe 2 to 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon, and once it's done, it just sits there, giving you absolute peace of mind until you need it. Our modern financial system is a miracle. Well, until it hiccups. And when it does, the people who stay calm, who have cash in hand, who can actually prove their identity, those are the people who come out the other side without financial scars. Most people will hear this, think, wow, that's a really great idea, and then let optimism bias take over and do absolutely nothing. I am challenging you not to be that person. As the saying goes, the best time to build your financial survival kit was before the last crisis. The second best time is right now. Start with step 1 this weekend. Grab the cash, grab the lockbox. Because I'll leave you with this question. If the digital lights went out tonight, what is the very first thing you'd wish you had done today? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.